Whether you're picking and grinning or just picking or just grinning, grab a drink, pull up a seat. It's time for Roots Music Rambler. Turn it up. So we have a little bit of news to share with everybody. The first, I think it was 6 episodes of Roots Music Rambler. We did full videos of those episodes, and then the production of it all got to be too time consuming and cumbersome for me to manage. So we went to all audio, and of course we had our video clips on the social medias and things like that. But, some time has gone by since then, almost 2 years, and I've figured out better workflows and whatnot. So as of the Anne Gauthier episode, a few episodes back, we are now full video podcast / show on the YouTubes. So if you want to look at us while you're listening to this show,
well, since you put it that way,
if you want to see us and the guests, of course, on the show, you can dial us up there on the YouTube, and I would love to see our YouTube audience grow. And we've obviously been focused on building an audio podcast, and I think we've done a nice job of that, but we do now offer the full, landscape YouTube video of the show now. So for those of you out there who are interested in that kind of thing, we're doing that now. So, and I don't think, I think I'm going to be able to keep the workflow up and keep everything produced on time and all that good stuff. And if I don't, I'll just let everybody know. So there you go.
Yeah.
I know you were real happy about this change, weren't you?
I mean, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Okay. I'm just allergic to video. I think I said that in one of our first episodes. Yeah. It's just, I don't know.
Well, I totally understand where you're coming from. And I don't disagree. I'm not crazy about doing video either. From a production standpoint, it's a lot more extra work. But I'm also an audiophile. I'm a radio guy. So I've gotten used to being on camera for social media purposes and things with clients and whatnot over the years. But I don't really care for it either. But I was talking to literally one of the world premier experts on podcasting. His name's Tom Webster. He's with a trade association for the podcast world called Sounds Profitable. And he was basically saying, one thing that you need to keep in mind as your podcast grows is if you don't have that show available as a full YouTube video, you're missing out. It's less than what it can be. And I don't disagree with him. That makes perfect sense. But I think consumers, particularly younger consumers now, are spending a lot of the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas are listening to podcasts on YouTube. They're literally going to the YouTube videos or searching for things on YouTube and going there first, on whether it's on their app or on their computer. And so it's just the inevitability of it just kind of came around full circle and was like, yeah, if we want to grow the show, and be available to everyone wherever they want to see the show or listen to the show, then the YouTube,
however
the video piece was necessary. And so there we go.
And I understand all that entirely. And also, I mean, we've worked too hard, you especially, to try to grow our audience and listeners and now viewers, to not reap the optimal amount of benefits. Sure. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So, I'll get over it.
You just can't come down and do any more shows like in your do-rag with no makeup on and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, well, still no makeup. I don't even bother anymore. But yeah, I'm gonna have to make sure I brush my hair and I don't have any food in my teeth.
I'm gonna perform, since we're doing this on video, and that's what we're talking about. I'm gonna perform a little bit of this is something you probably didn't know. When I see that shine on my forehead, I guess.
Oh yeah, yes.
I got a little makeup. I got a little cake, little pancake stuff, little powder pancake stuff. I still don't know how to do it or if it looks good, but so that.
Where's Katie?
Yeah, she's not here tonight, or she would do it for me. But also the cool thing about the video is you get a chance to see my cool T-shirts. So
Yes.
I have on my Hick Lib T-shirt, which if you're not unaware, uh, uh, after Tyler Childers' new album came out, somebody on social media just said, he's nothing but a Hick Lib. So our friends at Kentucky for Kentucky immediately put a Hick Lib T-shirt up on their website, and of course I gobbled that up very quickly because I am one, and I love the humor in it. Even if I wasn't one, I would think it was funny. So
Yes.
yeah, I got my Hick Lib shirt on tonight, and so I will endeavor in the future to make sure you have an entertaining T-shirt to see. Yeah, I see you have your Fitzgerald's T-shirt on.
Yes, yes, yes. And I was thinking as you were talking, I'm going to have to up my T-shirt game. When you first told me about Kentucky for Kentucky, I immediately went to their Instagram and I found one that I'm gonna get.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm not going to tell you which one it is though.
Okay.
Okay. You'll when I get it and I wear it, you'll know. And yes, I'm wearing my Fitzgerald's American Music Fest T-shirt. It's from this year's festival. Cool. So the names of awesome people are on the back, all the performers, a bunch of, some of my cool friends. And Fitzgerald's is like my third space. So I am always happy to talk about it and promote the joint.
That's great.
So
I love it.
But we do have something else to talk about. You've got something to promote, some exciting news.
Yeah. So I don't know that I mentioned this on the show before. Francesca and I have obviously talked about it. But I have seen a gap in small town markets, small town radio markets. There's a big gap, I think, in access to Americana music because the small town radio stations, typically they'll have like a morning show host, maybe a midday host for the weekdays, and then maybe an afternoon drive time person. So they have 3 shows that are like original local shows. They might have a weekend, DJ or 2 that does something on the weekends. But a lot of the music that comes out of small town radio stations is programmed, syndicated satellite service subscriptions. And it's programmed playlists that are generally programmed by companies that are beholden to the big record companies in Nashville and elsewhere. And so essentially, small town country radio basically gets top 40 stuff, which is mostly pop country these days. And those stations or those programming lists don't include a lot of Americana, if any at all. So my hypothesis was there's a gap out there. People in rural America are having to go to social media or satellite radio or streaming services to find the Jason Isbells and the Tyler Childers and the Turnpike Troubadours. And then you get down into the Molly Tuttles and, bluegrass music and things like that. They're not going to hear those on their local radio station. So I went to the radio conglomerate back home, Mountaintop Media is their name, a few months ago, and I pitched the idea. Why don't I do a weekend show that focuses on what I said at the time was the music your radio stations don't play. Let's focus on Americana music because your audience is missing something. And my hypothesis is I can help fill that at least for a few hours on the weekends. And that's something that I could take on and could do. Well, long story short, when we're recording this in late August, last weekend, Appalachian Echoes made its debut on WXCC FM, 96.5 FM in Williamson, West Virginia, which is one of the radio stations in the Mountaintop Media conglomerate. There's several, like 9 or 10 radio stations there. But WXCC is a 75,000 watt FM station. So I am now hosting a 3-hour Americana-focused show on a terrestrial radio station that reaches most of Eastern Kentucky, most of Southern West Virginia, and parts of Western Virginia, even a little small northeast corner of Tennessee, which is really cool. The concept of Appalachian Echoes is we're going to play Americana music, but we're going to focus on our own. We're going to focus on people who are from artists who are from Appalachia. And so when you tell someone in Appalachia, hey, this show plays really good music, but they brag about all of the people that you love the most here at home, people in Eastern Kentucky, Southern West Virginia, Western Virginia can get fired up about that, I think.
Right.
So the first episode aired on Saturday. I got some really interesting, fun, good feedback from, my cousins and the people that I made listen, basically.
All your kin?
Yeah, all my kin. I got a lot in Southern West Virginia. So there's a bunch of them there. But one of the things I did is I've taken, we do a featured artist every week on that show, and where I feature a couple times an hour, I'll feature an interview clip where we'll go in deep with an artist. Well, I'm pulling a lot of those interviews from Roots Music Rambler, from the people we've had, which gives me the opportunity to say, hey, if you want to hear the full episode, you can go check out our companion podcast at rootsmusicrambler.com. So it gives me an opportunity to promote Roots Music Rambler there as well. And they, both shows work hand in hand anyway. So yeah, that's out there. And they do stream online. It's wxccfm.com. And I will make sure that those links are in the show notes for this show so you can see it and hear it. It airs on Saturdays from 4 to 7 p.m. And that is the kind of permanent time slot.
Eastern time.
And Eastern time until further notice. So that would be 3 to 6 on Central. And yeah, I'm hosting a real radio show, not just filling in on FPK here in Louisville, which I will continue to do if they need me. Yeah. I'm available for that. But I'm really excited about growing this. Appalachian Echoes has its own website, appalachianechoes.com. We publish our playlists there after every episode. So if you hear it and you have, who was that song in the third hour? You can go look it up. We publish.
Love it.
That with links to the Spotify's and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's out there. It's cool. And I'm excited about it. Hopefully the next few weeks, I'll get a lot more feedback and we'll start getting some, user requests and all that good stuff. And it'll be fun.
Yes, I'm thrilled for you. I mean, that's like a dream come true. And, anytime you get to talk about your favorite music, whether it's here on the podcast or with your new radio show, like it just makes things so much better, and then the way you've framed it to sort of promote our podcast also, is just fantastic. So cool. Hopefully our listeners from the podcast will migrate over to listen to your radio show on Saturday afternoons.
Yeah. And vice versa. I'd love to have all those,
that too.
All those folks listening to WXCC, which by the way, I will say that this is just the state of the world. I didn't have anything to do with it. But a year or so ago, maybe a couple more than that, the WXCC changed its format to focus on 90s country. They used to be coal country radio. Now, coal country radio. Now they're focused on 90s country. And so their moniker, which I didn't have anything to do with, but it is what it is the Mullet. And so the radio station is known as the Mullet. I told them that I will absolutely not be growing one. Because if I grow a mullet, I look like Billy Ray Cyrus mated with a walrus. And so we don't want that. There you go. Welcome to Roots Music Rambler. She's Frank.
And he is a furry walrus, apparently. Hold on a second. That was a visual I did not need. Okay. He's false.
Yes. And we're rambling on through the stories behind the music we love.
Oh boy, yes. And today on the show, we do have something a little bit different for y'all. And I'm really excited about this one. I do believe it is the first time we're talking to members of a band, and the band that identifies as Americana. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? So many of you probably already know that Chicago is home to a very large Mexican American population, which includes today's guests. So who am I rambling on about? That would be none other than the band known as Los Gallos.
That's right. This is definitely going to be different and fun. I don't speak a lick of Spanish, so I'm glad Los Gallos also have songs in English. I've been listening to them for the last week or two. And the Spanish language songs, though, are pretty rocking too. I don't know what they're saying, but it's the band sounds good. And so at that, I've realized in listening to these guys that at some point the lyrics don't matter if the band is crisp and strong and they sound good and they're good instrumentalists and they have good solos. And so I've just really been enjoying their music this week.
Awesome. And I'm glad to hear it because I think they deserve, some more exposure. And then, as a Spanish teacher, I really appreciate the Spanish songs, though I really do enjoy all of their music.
Look at us. We get all bilingual and shit. I bet y'all didn't realize this episode would serve as a cultural lesson. So, here's what I know. Here's
what I know. And, the teacher in me, I kind of can't help it. So, being a regular episode, though, we'll also make some recommendations in our Pick and the Grinning segment for what we're listening to. So make sure you stick around after we chat with the guys from Los Gallos to hear those picks.
Absolutely. I'm out of beverage, so más bourbon, por favor. So let's take a quick break so we can thank the fine sponsors and make this show happen. When we come back, we will hablamos with Los Gallos. Stay tuned. This is Roots Music Rambler.
1,000 miles left to go, hoping for you at the end of the road. Feels like this road will never end, just as the sunlight begins to fade. It's getting harder to try and drive.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. That was the song 1,000 Miles from today's guests, Los Gallos. Rick and Henry, thank you so much for being here. How you guys doing?
Great.
So we're going to just jump right in. Okay. We want to talk about the music and talk about your roots and all that good stuff. So, Rick, we chatted a little bit before we started recording about how we probably have been at the same shows, all the old country shows since the late 90s. Because Chicago has been sort of like an epicenter of Americana and alt country music for a long time, for decades. But what does it mean for you, to live and create music here? Is the city helpful to you in terms of staying true to your roots? And by your roots, I mean, I'm going out on a limb here and assuming you guys have Mexican heritage. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So how does making music in Chicago, what does the city, what kind of role does the city play in your music?
I don't know if I'd have to go back to my childhood, and I think growing up multicultural, growing up first generation American, at home we'd speak Spanish, but at school, we're educated here obviously, and at school, with our buddies we speak English, so many times I would speak Spanglish, mix it all together. So I think that being caught between assimilation and cultural pride too is a big thing where I think people like Henry and I think the reason why Henry and I really met and really hit it off, and he's my brother today, but we're like, we both grew up loving rock and roll, and we grew up listening to so many different types of music, but also completely love Spanish music. And it's this thing that we love it all so much. And I think growing up in Chicago too, there was that community, there were those young people, my age who did have this, ethnic background, but also, were educated and were growing up here in America, obviously, and, influenced by that as well. It played a huge part I think in what we're doing now. And I think Chicago, I think the Chicago music scene is just really open to it right now too. So, I think we've kind of created this space where we live, and the reception has been really great. So
excellent.
Henry, what about you?
Yeah, I do agree with that. As far as I was kind of all over the place with regarding music. Culturally, I grew up Mexican American, same thing, speaking English and then going to Mexico, visit cousins who will say, "Oh, there's the gringo. He doesn't know how to speak Spanish." And then here it's well, we're the Mexican. Here's the Mexican who's coming from Mexican. So yeah, first generation, same thing. Rick and I bonded with the music, and be honest with you, I was a little lost with the music scene. Right, I grew up with electronica, classic rock, stuff that my brother would listen to, influenced by that. But when I met Rick, it sort of opened up like a whole different area. And, we took like classes together, and Rick and I, we love going to see the bands. So we'll make it a point that if there's a show, hey, you want to get tickets? I say, I'm in. And we always get tacos afterwards, and we talk about the music, and, so we love the music. So we, with our culture, it's so inviting with the music. I do remember my uncle being a guitar player. And so the traditional stuff kind of, I wasn't in tune with that until later on in life. And when I just was hungry to learn, more music, and again, Rick has this elaborate, all these bands that you have a background in playing with other bands and stuff like that. And me, I was just hungry for that stuff. So, and what I like, what we do is we bring some of that culture that we grew up on, within our music. So we have that same vision of, and then making it rock and roll, making it exciting, and making it, for us really, so it's a really cool journey.
Funny,
I
and
wanna
I'm
say
sorry
it's
to
a really
interrupt
cool
you.
journey.
And I just wanted to say one last thing. When Enrique and I met, we met at the Old Town School of Folk Music, actually, and we were taking a Mexican folk music class, and I was there because I was hungry I was kind of getting back into my roots, and I was like getting into Mexican music and wanting to play it. And so I thought, well, I want to learn how to play this music because there's technique to it. And so I took this class, and then I met Henry. I'm like, well, and I'd never known anyone else who my age and like in the rock and roll, but also wanting to like learn how to play like Mexican music. And so I met Henry, and then he and I like really hit it off, on both like on this on the same journey to like to find our roots, I guess.
That's very cool. It's interesting because when I was listening to your stuff this week to kind of, prepare for the interview and get deeper into your catalog, I noticed almost two very distinct sounds. I noticed I hate to say this, I hate to describe it this way because it's not exactly right, but you have songs that remind me of mariachi music, traditional Mexican music, especially with the accordion, especially the ones obviously sung in Spanish, which I'll admit, I don't know what you're saying in the song, but they're beautiful songs. But there's that sound. And then you've got this other sound, which is kind of like this, Americana, singer-songwriter, folk music that's almost, John Prine country-ish, that is distinctive. Is that intentional, or is that just, hey, when we sit down to write music, what comes out, and it's always going to be a blend?
Honestly, it's what comes out. I think it's just my personal influences coming through. One of the things about, like, maybe a lot of people don't know this, but like a lot of the themes in Mexican music are extremely similar to American country music. It's pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's a lot of the like ranchera stuff or norteña stuff that Henry and I love. It's country music, but it's sung in Spanish with like a slightly different instrumentation, but so the reason I fell in love with like country music was, I think, at an early age, because I saw those similarities in the themes, with the lost love, my mother died, I don't know, whatever, whatever. Yeah.
Lost my house, my job, my car, my wife, my guns. Yeah.
Oh,
Those
my goodness.
themes that like we grew up
Right.
with, the Mexican music, and so when I got really heavily into country music, I think it's because it was similar. It was really similar to me. It was something familiar. That is, I'm sorry. It was very familiar. So so it just made a lot of sense that I loved it because I kind of knew it already. And so yeah, with what we're doing musically, we're definitely trying to mix it all, but yeah, I mean, you're definitely hearing us, one song is this, one song is that, and it sounds completely different. And, we certainly didn't, create that system, like I think when you hear us, the two obvious influences are like Los Lobos or maybe the Iguanas, two bands that we love, and they've been doing the same thing for years before we have. So we just kind of are following along in their footsteps, I would say.
Yeah, and then the influence of mariachi music. I mean, it's just kind of an honor to actually be a little bit similar to that. We're definitely not a mariachi band. We could never, those guys are just amazing. But I like
Mhm.
the idea of taking pieces from that, or just taking a little bit of influence, because that's what we grew up on. I've heard the music, and the boleros and the cumbias and the dance music, and the mariachi music
It
is just
is.
just Mexican blues. It's great, and it's just great. We take a little bit of that and we mix it up, just like the dishes we eat. It's just very cultural. I
Well,
think
and
that's
that's
Let
a
what
people
I
to hot
love
perfect.
dogs
about
with
this.
tortillas. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This we've had it
Oh my
before.
goodness. I know we
When they're
we
hungry,
can't keep talking about food.
find
Okay.
something. That's great.
So but no, that's a perfect that's okay. I
It's an
mean, my
common thing
background
with
is
us.
Italian, so same thing. Yeah. But that what you
Oh,
guys both
yes.
just said really leads into our next question, which is about where in Mexico that you're from. So just like with food, the different regions of Mexico are known for different styles of music. So where are your families from and how do the musical styles differ? Like what is your take on that?
Yeah. So my father's from the capital, DF, and so he's city boy, big city, And my mom came from a small town, so it's sort of like Green Acres, small town country girl, except it was the other way around. I don't know. So yeah, so she was born in a rancho type of thing in Guerrero, which is the state, and the town is Iguala, where she's from. So she's the spicy, and my father's more to the even keel guy. So they met in the Midwest. It was something that, and they brought and had they look for their fortunes and stuff, and with the idea of going back. But once they have kids, you're kind of planted. You plant your flag here. So, but growing up, we used to take rides to visit family out in Mexico, and the music blaring and all the culture, and as a kid, you don't really appreciate that as much, but later on in life, you're just like, wow, I remember this stuff. I remember the music. You hear a certain song on the radio, and then you're like, whoa, I remember that song. It just takes you back and stuff. So yeah. Well, my mom's from a small town. My dad's from a big city, and they kind of met here in the States. And
Yeah, my dad's from Nuevo Leon, from Monterrey, Nuevo Leon, which is the northern part of Mexico, which is where the accordion music comes from, the norteño music comes from. My mother is actually from Puerto Rico, so I grew up multicultural. Yeah, um, and I was born in Chicago. Yeah, born and raised.
we call him the Mexican.
Mexican. I like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like it. That's good stuff. So
Oh
I
man.
think I've read somewhere that you guys describe the sound of Los Gallos as transcending musical borders. Speaking of different borders in different places, and as having an unsegregated sound. I'm curious as to why those labels are important to you, or why that fact is important.
I think Henry touched on it a little bit earlier when he said that like that we're thought of as gringos, in Mexico, and here we're thought of as Mexican, and really we're neither. We're Chicanos, or I don't know, I guess Mexican Americans, if you will. I don't know what the label is. It changes every few years, but it's important because I think people do kind of box us in, and like they sometimes I've had people like wonder why we're playing rock and roll or why we're playing country music, like, oh, how do you know this music? How are you into it? And I think that's why it's important to us. I think we're Americans. We grew up on all sorts of music. It's also why we sort of embrace the Americana label as a description of what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, I think we just it's important because we truly are. You come to a Gallos show, you're gonna hear exactly what you experienced, Jason, which is like, one song is gonna be a rock and roll tune, the next song is gonna be a blues, the next song is gonna be like a ranchera, like the next song's gonna be a cumbia, and like we really do mix it up a lot, and we're doing that for ourselves, honestly. Like we just love we love that we can play everything that we love.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
And we appreciate it because we love it.
Yeah, it's that duality in life. I mean, that we have, and I think that's what makes it spicy. You know, is what we have is, and it's great to hear the compliments too after shows. People come up and and we're just like, man, hey, we're honored to play. You know, it's just, we love playing music, and how great is that? And then working on new songs, and even with Rick, the journey that we have with the other bandmates is to me, it's just like I'm soaking it in, and I'm like, hey, we're riding this wild horse. I tell Rick all the time, let's keep the horse, keep it rolling, and just work on stuff to put out good stuff that we love doing, and hopefully others do too as well.
And you guys probably know, since Rick, you said you listened to a bunch of episodes, that I'm a teacher by day.
Yep.
That's my day job, right? And not only that, but a Spanish teacher. So as such, I try to incorporate a lot of cultural items into my lessons. And one great way to do that is through music. So one topic I've covered extensively is cumbia, because it truly is multicultural. You've got songs with cumbia in the title. So for those who may not be familiar with cumbia, can you describe it? How do you feel about cumbia? What do you think about it? And maybe some of the other styles that are prevalent in your music.
I mean, cumbia is a folk style from Colombia, and but through the years, it's been sort of embraced by different countries and changed. Like I grew up with a lot of Mexican cumbia, which is different from like the traditional folk Colombian cumbia. A lot of sort of modern elements that were added to it, like organ and electric guitars, and even like psychedelic cumbia stuff that you would hear like coming out of Peru. We love it. It's not only is it really fun to play, but people, it gets the people dancing. Yeah. So
yeah, definitely the cumbia, it does get folks going, and then what I like is also we don't only do like Mexican based songs. I mean, we'll do a Cuban song or something. We, when Rick later on, we used to play in a folk band called Cántaro. That's kind of how we started, right, Rick? So Cántaro was more traditional. We play very traditional Mexican music, kind of acoustically, and that morphed a little bit into the jarocho scene, which is where you see the instrument that you mentioned earlier, the jarana, is what I play. And, again, we're bringing stuff from what we've been playing into what we do now with Los Gallos. So part of it's cumbia. It could be like a waltz, two-step. I like the polkas, the norteñas, Rick and I, we also have done trips to study this. Like we've gone to the, Veracruz to see the traditionalist folk players. We've gone to San Antonio. Was it San Antonio, Texas, to see the Encuentro? Not the Encuentro.
the Conjunto Fest.
Conjunto Fest, yes, where we see Flaco Jimenez and the Tex-Mex scene, and those things are basically what we want to bring like into our music and stuff. So, or at least our performances as well.
Now this is all very fascinating, and I'm taking more notes now than I've taken since I was in high school. I'm sure I haven't spelled any of this right, but I'm plowing through it. I'm trying.
Have a quiz app.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
But it is probably a good time for us to take a break since we've talked about some cumbia here. Let's go out with Cumbia de la Carretera from Los Gallos. Stay tuned. This is Roots Music Rambler.
Cielo rojo, azul y negro, viajando con mis compañeros, tocando la cumbia de la carretera. La cumbia trae un ritmo muy sabroso, cantando pa' todos. La cumbia, cumbiamba. Vamos todos a bailar, vamos todos a gozar, vamos a cantar. Woke up this morning, the Southland was on my mind. Things that I seen, I just couldn't believe my eyes. Up in the Northland, there is a lot of beauty to see. And down in Michoacan, paradise waits for me.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. That toe tapper you just heard is called Michoacan from today's guests, Los Gallos. We're talking to Henry and Rick from the band. We are, Rick, you are a vocalist, guitarist, and button accordionist. I do believe you are the first accordion player we've had on the show. So if we could talk about some of the other instruments featured in your all's music, instruments that may be unfamiliar to casual music goers. We've already touched on them a little bit. The vihuela and the jarana. Can you give us some more info on the roots of those instruments and like visually, what are we looking at when we see it? Because if you say jarana to the random person that like me, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
You want to take it, Rick, or you want me to?
And Henry's the one who plays both of those.
Okay.
But I can touch on it briefly, and maybe Henry can talk about it as well. But the jarana is an 8-string folk guitar from the region of Veracruz, Mexico, and it's specifically used in the son jarocho folk music. Yeah, that's it right there. And it has a long tradition. The music itself dates back to, like, I believe the 17th century, and that particular guitar is carved out of a solid piece of cedar, and that's the way they were traditionally made for centuries. The other one is a vihuela, and that one is used more for mariachi, but it's also really they also jump around a lot and mix it in a lot of other types of music too. Like I've seen it in some like conjunto stuff, and I've also seen it in like I don't know. I'm gonna let Henry talk about that a little more.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, when we talk mariachi, is we talk about the group, just belching it out with their voices, and everything's acoustically. So just want to note that these instruments don't typically go plugged in. So when we mix in some of the rock and roll stuff, I have to like just dial it up and make sure it can be sounded. So I do have inputs for it, but again, yeah, they're very traditional. Again, the jarana does come from Veracruz, Mexico, as Rick mentioned. They play music called son jarocho, which basically it's a style of music where you have different versions of those jaranas. So you'll have like a small one called a mosquito, right? And that's like the mosquito that's real tiny. The one I just showed you here is a primera, right? So that has a different sound. And then there's a segunda and a tercera. So what they do is they gather around the town square in the evenings, and all these artists playing this traditional stuff. You'll also have like a tabla, which is a board where the folk dancer dances on with the dress and stuff. It's a little bit different than the northern part of Mexico style, but it's a little bit more flamenco-ish type of thing, but with their own style. And that gathering is called a fandango. So you may have heard some of these terms, aside from like the movie thing or whatever. Fandango means party, a celebration. And it's just beautiful to experience that firsthand. I mentioned Rick and we experienced that. Stay to the long hours of the nights and just have fun.
I think Henry picked them up in his journey of like studying Mexican music.
Correct.
So like, and then we decided to keep using it in the band, and a Los Lobos use them as well.
Yeah.
So you can hear other bands incorporate a lot of the Mexican folk instrumentation.
Sure. And then the vihuela is strictly more of a mariachi instrument that has the round back. It looks almost like a mandolin. The Italians use the mandolin, and it has a very bright sound. So these instruments, depending on which one I use, it's bright. Sometimes it emulates a harpish type, very bright. It stands out a little bit. And I think the way we use it is very unconventional, right? But it adds a sound to it. And I know Rick is pretty happy with the sound, adding to it, right? So I love playing it. It's more rhythmic and just instrumental as opposed to melodic. But yeah, it's really fun. It's really great to play, and it's I think it adds to the sound of the music of the band.
It definitely does, and I think it adds to the live performances too. Because when I saw you guys for the first time just last month, I was fascinated by the different instruments, and that's when I started researching. And I'm like, that's the sort of thing that I like to focus on with this show, right? The roots of not only the music but also the instruments. So, and I have to say that I love the accordion. I think the accordion doesn't get the love that it deserves.
Yes.
So, I love the sound too that you incorporate with the accordion into your songs. So going back a little bit to your musical beginnings. So we talked about, you grew up in Chicago. You heard mariachi music and all other kinds while you were growing up. But for both singing and playing, how did it come about for you?
Singing and playing. I think I fell in love with music as a really tiny kid. I mean, my dad was a big record collector, and he had like a pretty eclectic taste in music, I would say. So like, he definitely influenced me and introduced Mexican music to me, but also contemporary Latin music and a lot of American music. Like my dad introduced me to Marty Robbins and Johnny Cash. I mean, Freddie Fender, who's like one of my idols. And really, I mean, if you want to go back to like our roots, I would say it kind of starts with Freddie Fender, honestly. One of my favorite albums of all time is Before the Next Teardrop Falls, which is from 1975. And I grew up with that album, and in that album, like, he plays like he plays not only country music, the title song, but he also plays some like rhythm and blues and some country. Some Mexican music. So he plays like Allá en el Rancho Grande, which but the coolest thing about it is that it starts off as a traditional Mexican norteño song, but then it ends as a country song. So the pedal steel guitar comes in at the end, and it's the coolest sound because it's those were my influences as well. So it just made a lot of sense. And as a matter of fact, the song Michoacan, like the arrangement of that was based off of that song from that Freddie Fender album. So
nice.
Yeah.
Henry, what about you? When did you start?
Well, you know what? Unlike Rick, I think he had his influence from fathers. My dad, they definitely certainly, and my mom certainly listened to the folk, Mexican music. But we're like, that's the old man stuff, So I was more influenced by my brothers, right? So I had my oldest brother. He was growing up in the disco era, right? Him and my sister, they were disco dance, so disco, right? And then my other brother, rock, Rush and Journey and all those classic rocks and disco sucks, that type of thing. And then my other brother loved Elvis, and he loved Kiss. He's just like an Elvis Kiss fan. I remember the Kiss Elvis records and stuff. So I became like an 80s, in the beginning I was like punk and, early 80s stuff that came out. I'm an 80s kid and stuff. So a lot of electronica, a lot of stuff like that I would listen to. And I appreciated all that all. Later on in life, though, I did circle back because, my uncle, he actually very influenced. He played at a restaurant and he would do just he was a factory worker, but on the weekends he'd play at a restaurant playing his, acoustic guitar, just him alone, making just some extra cash. And it was always fascinating that how dedicated he was to his playing music. And he was never taught, he was self-taught, and he would belt out these songs, with little family gatherings. And so matter of fact, he gave a guitar to my sister, and I was kind of bummed out, right? Because she was taking some flamenco class or something, and he said, here's a guitar. And then my sister just, 2 weeks later, she got bored of it. It's just like having a pet, right? The kids want the dog and never know. But yeah, and then I saw it there, and I was like, hey, and she said, yeah, take it, have it. I have it here on the wall. You probably don't, not that one, but there's another one. It's a kind of family heirloom, because my uncle had passed away, but yeah, all these guitars and really great guitars. So, and that's what kind of gave me the drive for learning some of like our roots, where we're from and stuff. Again, I do suffer from a little dual personality. I introduce myself as Enrique, and I go by Enrique, like the band circle, but Henry or Hank is by like the other circle of friends, So you may hear Henry, Enrique. So I do suffer a little bit from that duality in life that I embrace it, So music is part of that,
I also grew up with a guitar, and how there, for as long as I could remember, there was a guitar in my house. And my dad and my mom they were not musicians. They did not play a musical instrument. But I constantly picked up that guitar until I eventually convinced my parents to buy me a nicer guitar. But I think some of my biggest influences as far as like for singing and songwriting and performing are people like Paul Simon. I don't know, a little bit later, Neil Young, who I absolutely love. And I got into the whole California country sort of thing. Like I discovered the band The Byrds when I grew up listening to the oldie station, my sister and I, and we were big Monkees fans, big Beatles fans. And I discovered The Byrds at an early age and completely fell in love. And being the music fanatic that I am, I bought up everything that I could possibly find of theirs. And that really got me into a lot of the country music too, that they later started performing,
Yeah, and some of these lyrics and these stories behind some of these songs, these folks, right, man, it's just amazing, So it's just good stuff.
Good stuff. Well, I'm glad all of that influence and whatnot led the two of you together with your bandmates and creating great music. We certainly love what we're hearing from you guys. What I'd like to know next is you've got, I think, an album that came out in 2023 that's out there on the streaming services and whatnot. We'll certainly link to that in the show notes. But what's on the horizon? We got new music or albums or anything coming up?
We do. We're currently working on another album. So, we also have the first album, and then we also have one track on the last Bloodshot Records compilation before they sold. But yeah, we're working on another album right now, and I believe it should be ready by the end of the year.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're super excited about that. I think there's some great songs in it. A lot of stuff that I'm pretty proud of. So I think it's
fun songs.
Hopefully you'll like it.
Fun songs. It's fun to play too. We rehearse them and we love playing and stuff. So, matter of fact, we stopped doing as many gigs as we do to work on the album. Right, just going to the recording session. Right. So we're sort of in a little bit of hiatus, but normally we do a couple gigs like a month and so I think
yeah, we took a break at the beginning of this year for a few months and worked on the album, and then we ended up booking some gigs just because we were missing playing out and
picked up again,
and the kicked in, so we took a break from the album to play some of the gigs, and then now we're coming on the end of the year, so the gigs sort of fall short a little bit, and we're back in the studio finishing the album.
Well, that's exciting, and I know I'm looking forward to a new album. And I mean, we can't thank you enough. I especially can't thank you enough for spending time with us and talking about your music, your roots. I absolutely love it. But I can't let you guys go. I can't let you get out of here without answering one more question for me, and that is, where is your favorite place for tacos in Chicago?
Oh my goodness, there's so many.
Aside from at home, because I'm just going to assume that you guys get excellent food at home. So,
Well, I mean, I always do every year a taco tour, which consists of going to Mexico. So
oh,
what I do is I take pictures. I'm one of those foodie guys that take pictures of their tacos and stuff. So you see a lot of that. Rick, I don't know. It's kind of tough. I can mention a
It's
few.
tough. I mean, tacos,
Yeah.
like, for example, this week I went to Don Alfredo's, which is carnitas from Michoacan, which is like my favorite spot, and that's in like it's Elmwood Park. I don't remember, but I mean, like, there's our favorite spot for asada. There's our favorite spot
Right.
for
I'm afraid to get shunned by some of the taco places if I name it.
Oh, no.
La
Okay. No, we
Pasaditas
don't
and
want
they're saying,
that.
"Oh, we don't like La Pasadita. We like this. Or,
We don't want that.
But-
I remember being young. I grew up in Little Italy, the middle of the city, and my dad, like some Saturdays, we'd go to church as a family, and then we'd go to 26th Street, and we'd go to La Posada, and I mean, we thought we were like so cool, right? So I'm always like, if I'm going to go out for Mexican, I want really, really authentic stuff,
Yes.
So who better to ask than the expert?
Yeah, usually if you find it's like the hole in the wall type of like the hidden place, those are the best ones. I mean, street tacos are great. They're just authentic.
We're pretty lucky to be, to grow up in Chicago. It's, there's so much great Mexican food here. It's like LA. There's just like so much great Mexican food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are so many spots. Can't hit them all.
For the record, we're better
No.
in LA. Yeah, I'll just say that.
Well, and Henry, you were saying that the best is always a hole in the wall place. The best tacos I've ever had was at a hole in the wall place, and this is cross borders too.
Sure.
I was in Ensenada, Mexico, and I was there for the start of the Baja 1001 year, which is a really long story that has nothing to do with anything about the tacos, other than we went there. So we go to this place, and when I walked in, I was like, this place can't serve food. There's no way, because we walked in and it was basically a stone fire pit, dirt floor all the way around the stone fire pit. There was a man who was cooking steaks, sirloins, on the fire pit, and then the building, the whole building was just a 3-sided bar around the floor and the fire pit, and there were toppings and cheese and salsas and whatnot all along. Every so often there was another set of these things, and people walked in and stood around the bar. There were no seats. You stood around the bar and you just told them how many you wanted. So Trace, and so they brought me 3 tacos. It was the flour tortilla and the steak. That was it. And then you did the topping yourself, and then you ate the tacos. I've never had anything in my mouth that was more delicious than this. And if that was in America, I'm telling you that the health department would shut that shit down in a heartbeat. I think there was a live chicken in there. I mean, it was just
Probably.
the food was fantastic.
Well, if you do visit us, we'll definitely take you guys to some tacos. Places.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I'll 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'm coming.
Yeah, we either start our show by eating tacos or like if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, I'll post the tacos before our show, and then just to kind of say, hey, this is our spinach, or after, we make it a play.
That's good stuff. All right, tell people where they can find all your stuff on the interwebs.
You can listen to our album on any streaming platform, your favorite, I guess. You can check out our website, losgallosband.com, to see where we're performing next. We'll be at Fitzgerald's for the Honky Tonk Toberfest. I believe that's our next gig. That's not a private event.
Yeah, if you do a search on Los Gallos, make sure you put Los Gallos Band, maybe Chicago,
Right.
because there's a lot of Los Gallos, and there's actually like a metal Los Gallos in Florida or something. But our symbol, Los Gallos, it's the rooster, right? I mean, that's that little rooster here. Got my hat here.
Mm-hmm.
That's us, man. We're that's just our symbol. I mean, Rick has it on his shirt there. So Los Gallos Band, Chicago. Any search, and you can find us where we're playing next. Say hi.
It's great stuff.
Follow us on Facebook.
We will make sure that all those links are in the show notes at rootsmusicrambler.com. Rick and Henry from Los Gallos, thank you so much for coming with us, coming to hang out with us tonight. Be sure to stay tuned, everybody. We got the Picking the Grinning segment coming right up. You are listening to Roots Music Rambler.
Pretend you're still in love with me, and things are what they used to be. Just one last time before you go, pretend that you still love me so. Pretend I'm still the only one, and all my dreams have just begun. I know our love's come to an end, so one more time let's just pretend.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. I hope you feel culturally enthused and infused. I know I do. I don't know if this is a bad thing or a good thing or if it's indifferent, but I suddenly want to go down to my neighborhood Mexican restaurant and have some Mexican food so that I could hear the Mexican music playing over the loudspeakers there and just keep this evening going with the what we've been able to get from Los Gallos. It was fun to have those guys here, Rick and Enrique, and we'll put all links to all the stuff in the show notes and all that good stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
Such good guys.
Absolutely. All right, so it's time for our Picking the Grinning segment. Who is making us grin? This is where Francesca and I pick a song or an artist or an album or, an era, something that said, hey, this made me grin this week. This is what I've been listening to. This is what I like. It's our way of recommending music to you. If in case you are just joining us and don't know what that phrase means, we're picking the grinning. What's making us grin? And so, Frank, I will let you do the honors this week. What's your picking the grinning pick for this episode of Roots Music Rambler?
Well, I'm keeping it local since we talked to Los Gallos and they're from Chicago. My pick for the Picking the Grinning is another Chicago artist. And it's one of those things, like, I heard a song by this artist, I don't even know how long ago, and I, added it to my like songs on Spotify, and it kind of got lost in the pile. Occasionally I'll go through that list and, bring up some stuff I haven't listened to in a while. And so I was doing that, and I came across this artist and one song especially. And then I was like, oh yeah, because I've heard, well, it's Elizabeth Moen. Okay. So I've heard her name come up a few times just in the last couple of months. And then I'm like, yeah, I know that name. So I'm like, this is perfect. Okay. So Elizabeth Moen, she's based in Chicago. She's originally from a small town in Iowa, but she's been in the city for a few years now. And the song that really, lured me in is called I Never Get Lonesome. And it's a beautiful song, and she's got a tremendous voice. She's also a guitar player, and if you check out her website, she's got all kinds of high praise. Her newest album was supposed to be produced. I want to make sure I'm getting this correct. By Spencer Tweedy.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Of, yes, Jeff's son.
Mm-hmm.
So, she's good. Check her out. And I'm hoping she plays locally again soon, because I would really like to go see her. Elizabeth Moen.
Elizabeth Moen, like the faucets. I love it. That's good stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm staying somewhat in the same guardrails of our guest today, although not from a musical standpoint, but certainly from a background standpoint. because I we're getting to the point now to where the publicity people are reaching out and saying, hey, you should feature my artist, or let me send you this guy's stuff or this gal's stuff, which I love. Bring it on. I need all the help I can get discovering new artists and whatnot. So we love the publicity and the PR people out there in the music business. It's a great way for me to discover new folks to actually bring you on the Pick and the Granted segment. And one of the publicists, I get those words mixed up sometimes. One of the despite the fact that I'm a PR guy by trade, it's crazy. Anyway, I've obviously had more than 3 bourbons. So
no mas bourbon.
Yes, no mas. So anyway, the gentleman that I'm going to recommend to you is from New Mexico. He has a new album that dropped in August. His name is Max Gomez, and Max reminds me a little bit of, a little bit of Jason Isbell, a little bit of maybe some John Prine influence, a little bit of Townes Van Zandt. He's a singer-songwriter. He's got really good songs. The song that jumped off the Spotify feed to me when I first started listening to him is called Don't Leave Me Lonely. And so Max Gomez is my pick this week. His publicist sent us some information. I said, yeah, I'll check him out as soon as I get to it. And I started listening. I was like, wow, this guy's really good. He's been around a little while. I don't think this is his first album, but he's an up and comer, and I think he's worth, going and checking out. So that's my pick in the granted, Max Gomez from New Mexico.
New Mexico. So I will second your pick. Max Gomez is one of the names on the back of my shirt here. And we did not plan this, folks. But yes, he played this past summer's American Music Festival at Fitzgerald's, and I caught a set and really enjoyed it. He was described to me by a friend that I was with. She had seen him before, and she said he's like a very talkative Bob Dylan. And so in his live shows, he does like to tell stories, which I'm all for. We do this show because we like to know the stories behind the music that we love. Mm-hmm. So if a musician, singer, songwriter is going to share that with the crowd, then I'm there for it.
Right.
And so I got to see Max Gomez, and that was the first time I heard him, and it was live. So I would, yes, thumbs up to your pick there.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to be validated. That's good stuff.
And maybe we can get him on the show now.
Well, maybe we can. I mean, I definitely have his publicist's email address. So we've had some communication. That's good stuff. So look for Max Gomez in a future episode. We'll just make that happen. How about that?
Okay.
All right. I think that's going to wrap it up. I'm headed down to Fiesta Time, which is the Mexican. I think they're still open. I don't know.
La Taqueria?
Kind of late, yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna go down there and have. I'm gonna get me a big old margarita. That'll go well with the bourbon.
Yum.
That'll be nice. All right. I'll sleep good. Roots Music Rambler is a production of Falls and Partners. Copyright 2025. Our theme music is Sheepskin and Beeswax by Gentacorum. Join us online at rootsmusicrambler.com and make sure you mash that subscribe or follow button so you remember to join us for the next hoedown and throwdown. She's Frank.
And he's Falls.
And whatever you do, kids, ramble on.